Hear, hear. Hear, hear. Hear, hear. Parkinson's Podcast. Welcome to the Hear, Hear Parkinson's Podcast, where you will hear from special guests covering the world of Parkinson's with a deep dive on the World Parkinson Congress and a look at how the WPC has helped make extraordinary progress in the Parkinson's community by creating space for people with Parkinson's to have a seat at the table.
Here, 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 here. We're back with another episode of the Parkinson podcast, leading us all up to the next Parkinson World Congress in Phoenix, Arizona, May 2026. As a preparation, we will do a series of podcast episodes where we basically interview people who have been at the World Congress earlier, at least once. And what was their experience? How did it change? Why should other first-timers go? Why should other regulars go for the nth time, etc., etc., etc.? And co-hosting with me is Eli Pollard from New York. Hello, Eli.
Hi, Edgar. Glad to be here. Looking forward to this interview with Michelle and Sree.
Good, good. Yes, they are who? They are Michelle Garratt and Sree Sree.
You can just stick with the first name.
Okay. Very welcome on board, both of you. You are chairs of the Buddy Program, if I understood things right. Can I say a little bit about yourselves and the Buddy Program, please?
Sure. I'll let Michelle take that one.
Yeah, so I'm Michelle Garratt. I'm from the Portland, Oregon area. And so it'll be great for us that live on the West Coast that we will be in Phoenix next time. So Phoenix, Arizona. So as far as the Buddies program, my first experience was through Kyoto, Japan in 2019. I met my buddy there. Her name is Karina from Finland. And so we connected, and that was great. But what really spawned from that event was a wonderful group of women that came together through Sree and Cat Hill. And we all just instantly we connected with each other. And what I didn't realize that event was how a wonderful friendship was going to grow. Over the last 5 years, we've been the best of friends, spilling our guts on everything good, everything bad, everything in between. And through the COVID lockdown, we were each other's buddies. I mean, I think, did we talk almost every day at that time?
You know, we did. We talked several times a day. Yeah.
Yeah. So for us, it's a very meaningful program because that's how we all met. And so we have friends that are from Ireland, England, where else? The East Coast of the United States, the West Coast. And so it's been a wonderful connection to have. And then we became part of the team, the coordinator team for Barcelona in 2023 for the Buddies program. And that was even more special because we got to see people come together as buddies that had met prior by connecting through the program. I'm trying to think what else I could go on, but I'm going to let Sree take on.
I just want to jump in for a second here just to give our listeners a sense of the history of this. I mean, Michelle and Sree were amazing co-coordinators. They're two of a four-part team, actually. It's not just the two of them, but they're here representing the group. You know, this WPC Buddies program started back in 2013 at the World Parkinson Congress that was in Montreal. And originally, which won't surprise anyone, it started because our good friends in Canada, they said, oh, wouldn't it be great if everyone who came to the Congress could have their own Canadian buddy? They all wanted every person coming to the Congress to have a Canadian buddy, particularly the people with Parkinson's. And so that was originally how it started, where we tried to match up Canadians with non-Canadians. That's a little complicated because it's a numbers game, and you may not have enough Canadians to go around. And so the program evolved from that beautiful first time. And then in 2016 and 19 and 23, it's continued, where we do try to match people with Parkinson's and care partners individually or as couples with other people who they might be a good fit with, and make it a little more comfortable and easy for them when they arrive at the Congress. So they actually know somebody. If they don't already know people, they know at least somebody who they can chat with. And Michelle and Sree and their other co-coordinators, they did a beautiful job in 2023 matching people who wanted to be matched in the Buddies program. So this is a little history about the program and how it all got started, at least.
So how many matches have you made?
Oh gosh, what was it this last time? I think it was a bit of a, oh gosh, how many people, Sree, do you recall now? That's a good question.
I think we matched over 100 people, maybe.
Or 100 pairs?
I can actually pull it up.
Okay. Yeah. And I think the numbers were down less because it was a lesser than the World Parkinson's Congress from before, right?
Yeah, but when we were in Portland, and we're coming back to the U.S. now, when we were in Portland, there were hundreds and hundreds of people matched in Portland.
Yeah, and I think... Yeah, and I think the thing that I want to say is, why isn't everybody buddying up? Like, because I know the beauty of that connection, that we've experienced. So I want everybody to have a buddy. Yeah, Sree.
So we had almost 200 people apply or submit for the Buddies program, and we matched almost 200 people together.
And they really come from everywhere in the world, right? I mean, This is, yeah.
Yeah. Other than Micronesia, we're still waiting for someone to come from there.
Well, and it's like the old-fashioned buddy, or what do you call it? The pen pal we used to have years ago, right?
Yeah.
It's reminiscent, but it's even deeper than that. So it's pretty special.
Who has traveled the farthest? When we were in Barcelona, I mean... Which person had traveled the longest distance to get to Barcelona?
I think it'd be us on the West Coast, right? I mean,
or maybe somebody from Chile if we're outside of the group, but like Chilean.
That's right.
Or maybe someone actually from New Zealand or Australia.
Yeah, that's right.
Sree wanted to add.
No, I was just going to chime in about furthest travels, but I traveled actually from Australia to Barcelona. No, that was Kyoto. Never mind.
That's right. You did. You're a world traveler. You can't get it all.
Yeah, from Bay Area to Barcelona.
Getting your WPCs mixed up. So the Buddies program, we kind of joke. I know when you guys took on this job or this sort of coordinating role, we joke that, this is not Match.com. We're not matching people to date. This is really just matching people as a friendship. This isn't a dating system.
Right.
But have any of all of these matches become a couple?
That's
actually
a good question.
I'd have to say that I consider myself matched very well with a polyamorous group of people. Myself, Kat, Michelle, Rochelle, Claudia, all of the people that I grew to know. I mean, that is better than any, I think, relationship that you could possibly have. Having a strong group of women that you've met that support you through one of the most difficult times in your life, not only having Parkinson's disease, but during COVID. And that was all because of WPC. In fact, we became such strong connections that I'm going to spend my 50th birthday next month with the buddies that I met, Michelle, Claudia, and Kat, who are another friend who never made it, unfortunately, to the WPC, but who's a dear friend, Jane. And instead of my dear friends that I've known since I was like in 10th grade, so don't tell them that I'm leaving to Portland to hang out with my Parkinson's buddies. And they're not my Parkinson's buddies, they're just friends at this point. Their family is really what they've become.
Can't you have both? Two parties? I mean... If it's your 50th, you could have 2 or 3 or 4 parties.
You could have multiple parties.
I can celebrate in Arizona, why not?
That's right.
Absolutely.
I love it. I love it. So you guys have been on both sides of the side of the receiving a buddy, but also then matching buddies. Any crazy and wonderful stories that, aside from your well-connected networking, any stories where you're like, oh my God, this person, I heard this great story, or anything that you learned, or because you've done this now once and you're going to do it again in Phoenix. You're coming back for a second round. So obviously it was a good experience. Any crazy stories from like that Buddies program in Barcelona?
I can answer that one, I think. Just quickly looking at the spreadsheets that we pulled together, we had some very interesting requests for matches. People stated their religious preferences, their political preferences, their pet preferences. I think someone might have had a pet turtle and wanted to meet someone else with a pet turtle. I mean, all sorts of things showed up. And so we can't reveal what the applicants or submissions said explicitly, but we can say that people have some very specific ideas of the types of people they'd like to meet, which is absolutely fine. But it became really interesting to try and match these people with other people. And sometimes those specific matches aren't the ones that work out the best. Sometimes meeting someone who's completely not like you is a match that works out beautifully, because you can have a really lovely cultural exchange and you might find things that you never knew that you had in common.
Absolutely. But there is one question. You speak about women all the time. Isn't there a male buddies program?
Absolutely. And just as many men were involved. And I want to speak from like the maternal side of me as a mom. When we had our mix and mingle, social event for everybody to connect, it was such a proud moment to watch them come together and find their person and their buddy and connect, right. And I just remember standing in the back of the room like a proud mom, like, oh, look at them. It was really special.
So talk a bit about how that works. So people apply to be a buddy. What's sort of the process? They apply and then they get notified, and then they talk ahead of time, or they don't talk ahead of time, and then what happens on site? What's that experience like?
Yeah.
Do you want to take that, Michelle? Do that.
Okay. They apply when they're doing their official WPC application. They have the opportunity right then and there to get a buddy or sign up for the program, right? And it just asks some basic questions similar to what Sree was bringing up. Some go drilling down to, I have a turtle. But it doesn't have to be that specific. But really what we're trying to find is someone that can meet them on some point of, who they are and character, but also, we spent some time on this, the team, because it meant something. We know that connection is special, or it can be. So then at that point, we inform them of who their buddy is by email, and then we encourage them to be in touch with each other. It isn't like you have to do this, you have to do that. You don't have to pay a dime. It's up to them to make that connection. And we really want that to start blooming before they go to the conference, right? Because upon meeting each other, they should have seen each other's pictures, perhaps with their family, their animals, their whatever, so they know who that person is before they walk in the room. They walk in, they go, there he is, there she is, Sree.
So some people, like Michelle said, we definitely have encouraged people to interact and engage with each other before, but there's no requirement or prerequisite that you do that. It does make the engagement when you meet that person in face-to-face much more rich and enjoyable. But that said, we totally understand that, if you have Parkinson's disease, that's not always easy to do. You have to bide your time. So nobody should feel guilty or like they're not doing a good job if they're not reaching out to their buddy ahead of time. You do the best that you can. The goal is just to meet somebody and to exchange your life with them and to get to know their struggles with Parkinson's or in life, and to share yours and to make a connection. Because the more we connect as a community of people with Parkinson's disease, the more we can support each other and the more we can grow and find solutions for better care.
Hear, hear.
Yes. I wanted to speak to, when you walk into that big event, right? It can be intimidating. It can be daunting. And if you know that you're going to be seeing your buddy, you know one person at least, right? And you're going to make other friends, but you know that there is going to be that person. And the funny thing is, my buddy and I didn't talk about which events we were going to throughout the 3-4 days, and we ended up at a lot of the same events, so we'd sit next to each other every time. So that was comforting for me, that I knew someone before I met my group, with Sree.
Yeah.
So I appreciated that. And I've heard from one individual that she said her buddy and her have become very close. And this is a woman from Portland, Oregon, who met someone from Mexico. Actually, correction, I believe she's from Spain, and they wouldn't like that. But anyway, they had this beautiful connection, and they're still friends to this day. So she just couldn't thank us enough. Yeah, Sree.
And the other thing I want to say is, while... Oh, go ahead, Edgar.
Thanks. What about language? I mean,
so some people
not everyone speaks English. You mentioned Spanish. Lots of people in Spain speak Spanish only, and then they go to the World Congress and they have an American buddy or an English-speaking buddy. How about that?
Well, surprisingly, a lot of the people who spoke other languages chose to have English as their preferred language. So the form actually has an entry where you can write the language you prefer to speak in, along with additional languages that you do speak. So people whose native language was maybe Norwegian or Italian, for example, I remember 2 instances, if I remember correctly, chose to have English as their first language, because a lot of people are more comfortable in English, even though that's not their native tongue, which is very interesting. For people who chose to speak only, or who preferred Spanish, we linked them or matched them with somebody who did actually speak Spanish. So that worked out pretty well.
Right. Because that could be a hurdle to some people not wanting to apply, because they say, oh, there is a risk that we can't speak properly because my knowledge of whatever is limited, and then I risk getting a buddy that is also limited. But you say that worked out fine and was actually not as...
No one has complained as of yet.
Yeah, we haven't heard that. If anything, it was more that we found the right person, and we worked really hard to try to do that intentionally. With
the other thing to keep in mind is language is also physical. It's also emotional. So even if they don't speak the same language, there is a connection just knowing that someone else has the same disease as you, or has experienced the same thing as a care partner. And there's a subtle, silent communication that often takes place where words are not necessary. So that's not to say we're going to have someone who speaks language X with language A, and there's literally no correlation, but there are other ways to communicate that we found that the buddies have really relied on to help develop a connection.
That's excellent.
So I'm curious.
Do the buddies that are chosen and teamed up, are they supposed to be with each other for most of the time?
No, not at all.
No expectation on that at all. No, it's really up to them. It's up to them. Once we've had their social mixer, I can't remember the name we officially called it, but the buddies
reception, I think.
Reception.
Buddies meet and greet.
Meet and greet. That's it. Meet and greet. Once we had the meet and greet, and they connected in that space, it was up to them from that point on what they, wished. And many of them reconnected throughout, like I did with my buddy.
Yeah.
So.
Right. It's because Eli and I have spoken on a couple of occasions here on what we call, or it's not what we call, the term is unconference, which is a term for everything happening that is not in the printed program. Because you bump into other people that you know, and they say, oh, Edgar, you should come here and listen to, or you should join me for the next session. And they say, oh, I'm already with someone. But that is then not a showstopper at all, as you say. You could leave your buddy for this afternoon because you bump into someone else that is inviting you to another presentation.
Absolutely.
And then you reconnect again in the evening, perhaps for food and drinks. And
Yeah.
So the one is not excluding the other, as we say.
No, not at all. It's not an exclusive membership club. It's like you can make more buddies throughout that week, and people did, and we did too. Sree,
Yeah.
you were saying you wanted to say
Yeah,
something.
one of the key things to keep in mind, I think, from my perspective as a buddy recipient and a buddy coordinator, is that the buddy program is really an entryway into meeting other people with Parkinson's disease or other people in general at the conference. Because when I first went to the conference in 2016 in Portland, Oregon, I had just been diagnosed the year before, and it was overwhelming to be in a conference with so many people and with this new diagnosis that I didn't know much about. And I actually made my first friend outside of the buddy program with Parkinson's disease, but I met up with her in Portland, so that was really nice. But it's really meant to give people a sense of ease into a large conference where sounds and sights and smells, if you still have your sense of smell, everything can be very overwhelming. And so meeting your buddy is like having a partner. It's kind of like when you go off to kindergarten or your first class and you find your friend and you hold hands and you walk into the classroom. It's kind of like that. And there also is no expectation that you should have a great experience with your buddy. There's no expectation. So a lot of us have had good experiences. Some of us have had so-so experiences. But the key is you're meeting somebody new. You're meeting somebody with Parkinson's disease that you've never met before. You're exchanging your experiences. And that person, that experience is a gateway for you to meet other people and connect and build your own personal circle. And that's really what happened, because if it wasn't for me having Kat Hill as a buddy through the WPC, I would probably not have met Michelle. And now Michelle and I are hanging out for my 50th birthday.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's the highlight right there. Well, and then we've heard, the reality is with Parkinson's is you may, let's say, not be able to get to that social engagement at the WPC event, right? And you have every intention to be there. And I know in one case I heard the woman was not able to get to that event, but they still connected when she was able.
Right.
And that's another important thing, is that we're so understanding of that flexibility and need, right?
Yeah.
For each other.
Exactly.
I think we should also add, for those of you that have not heard, I'm now speaking to our listeners here, for those of you who have not heard the other podcast episodes, when we say Parkinson's, we speak about the whole range from the regular Parkinson's disease to the MSA Parkinson plus whatever of it's we're really the first of many inclusive parts of the WPC. It is these podcast episodes. If we don't mention specifically, we still include the whole range of diseases under the Parkinson's umbrella, so to speak.
Yeah, everyone is welcome. And the reality is, I think it's the same around the world. I can only speak for the US. Most people who are diagnosed with MSA or PSP or CBD, most of them get a diagnosis of Parkinson's first. Yeah. And then they figure out later that they actually have a variation of Parkinson's, or it would be considered maybe an atypical Parkinson's. So there are probably people that come to the WPC at the time, even thinking they have Parkinson's, and then maybe afterward they find out their diagnosis is different. But yeah, no, we're open. Anybody in this community is welcome. We certainly include everybody. I'm curious, this is a question for Sree and Michelle. You've now obviously been a part of the Buddies program, and you actually are running the Buddies program. You've done it once, you're doing it again. Just how has the WPC, aside from the Buddies program, how did the WPC change you or impact you as a person with Parkinson's?
Oh gosh, you want to go first, Sree, or?
Sure, I'll take a stab at it. I think what I realized as part of the Buddies program, as part of being a member, participant, attendee at WPC, is that I did not realize how complex Parkinson's disease was. I did not realize all the effort scientists and researchers were making into the disease. I also didn't realize how much I should have listened to my parents and really become a doctor. And so I can understand a lot of this better. But I would attend you have the option when you go to the World Parkinson Congress to attend any lecture series you want, even if it's out of your depth, like for the extreme research-oriented sessions, you can go. You might pick up something. You might find a little tidbit that you can talk to your doctor about. It's really the thing that changed my life is the access to knowledge. The access to knowledge was immense. So the Buddies program and meeting friends, that was covered. But the access to knowledge, to awareness, to what's happening out there, to how you can be involved is really unparalleled. And I've been to other conferences, and all those other conferences are wonderful and great. But the WPC is something very special.
I can I jump on your coattails on that one?
Absolutely.
Just to be able to sit at the same table with the researchers and, doctors that are, involved in breakthrough research, and to be at that table and to be asked a question or to have your question answered with the greatest amount of respect. It just blew my mind and made me feel so validated to be in that company, and so I can almost get emotional thinking about it, because there's more than one time where I got a personal connection with a researcher, where we had this great conversation after I saw him speak or her speak. So everyone seems so available, and I've never experienced that in any other gathering for Parkinson's. So I just appreciated that so much. And it is mind-blowing to be able to be welcomed to that table.
And the other thing I'll say, and this is completely anecdotal, this is completely unscientific and unresearched, but several people have told me that they went to the WPC, their symptoms magically got better for that few days, for that week. And I stand by that. I felt like I moved better, I spoke better. And part of that is just being around people who have Parkinson's, who understand you. Yeah. You don't have to pretend. And also you're around people who know the disease, who care about finding a cure, who care about finding better solutions. And all that energy is very powerful. And I think it really does make a difference.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that kind of leads right into what I benefited from attending, and what I brought home was a great deal of inspiration from so many people I met and listened to at the lectures, that I came home wanting to do more and get involved in my community. And now I'm part of many different councils and, volunteer efforts within the Parkinson's community. So it was inspiring that way.
I always say that WPC is a springboard for advocacy and activism. And, a lot of people show up, they're already obviously engaged because they're going to a World Parkinson Congress. So they're already interested in learning and already advocates in their own way because they're learners. But it is, eye-opening, right? To walk into that space with all those people and see all the other things you could be doing. So sometimes people come and they don't know quite where they fit and what they should be doing. And then they start like, oh, I could be mentoring newly diagnosed people. I could be participating in more clinical trials. Oh, I could be collaborating with researchers. I could be writing a blog, and they leave with like 100 ideas, and it distills down to something. But I always love it. It's like a springboard. So I love to hear that, Michelle, that even for you, someone who's already engaged and connected, it was even a springboard for you to get more involved and to do more things. I love that.
Yeah.
I think this is excellent. I've only been to one Congress so far, the one in Barcelona. But as I said to Eli a couple of times already, is that looking apart from which topic, I've been to a number of congresses in the IT industry, etc. And very often you have these closed room VIP gatherings. And since I'm not a very hot person, then I'm standing on the outside wondering what goes on in the inside that so-called VIP room. But at the Parkinson Congresses, there is no VIP room, so everyone is out there. And you walk by a cafe, suddenly someone says, "Hey, Edgar, oh, you should come in here. You should meet and you're introduced to fabulous people in every way. And again, it's not only that you're introduced to someone who wrote a best-selling book or something. It could be you're introduced to someone who has an experience they want to share.
I think it's one of the few.
Sorry, Sree, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Edgar. Sorry, I thought you were finished.
As I wanted to say, it could be anyone having an experience similar to mine or so. And there sits Anders from Oslo as well, and he says, "Hey, Edgar, you got to meet Michelle from Portland. She also experiences." And then we start talking, and what starts with a glass of beer perhaps turns into the whole evening, because all of a sudden we are, even without being in a buddy program, we are sort of buddied up in the evening.
Oh yeah,
between two
the lounge bar at night after the WPC was over was a joyful place to be, with many connections and lots of laughter and lots of tears and hugs and bonding that was happening naturally. You didn't leave there without at least one, if not more, friends and connections. And I think the people that really inspired me too weren't necessarily the one up on the stage, which I'm not saying they weren't inspiring, but was the woman that said, "Let me show you what I can do," since this physical therapist right here helped me. And she showed me this technique she used to walk. She was so proud to share. She didn't know me, but it was like that bonded us. And I'll never forget that woman for her pride in what she was able to do with that physical therapist help that day. So there's moments like that.
Yeah.
I think it's the one place that if you're like a famous star, Tom Cruise or Brad Pitt, and you hang out in the conference, nobody cares about you, because we're all rushing over to see Eli, Edgar. Those are our superstars. Those are the people we want autographs from.
Okay, so if Tom Cruise comes, I'm supposed to just go, "I don't care about you."
Like, later, dude.
Maverick, whatever.
You may have to reevaluate that, but thank you, Sree. I love that.
If Tom Cruise comes by, it's like, "See you later in Top Gun 3, dude. I'm hanging out with Eli."
I love that. I love it.
I will say, you guys,
isn't that Shania Twain singing "So You're Brad Pitt"? That don't impress me much.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say, Sree, my son did come to the last Congress, which is amazing, you guys, because when the first Congress took place in 2006, he was a baby and he was in a baby carrier. And then in Barcelona, he volunteered as an 18-year-old. He came and volunteered. And it was kind of cool to have my 18-year-old son watch people come up to me and say, "Oh, you're Eli's son? Like, wow, like that's cool. Your mom's so amazing." And my son's like, "Oh, my mom's kind of cool."
Yes,
okay.
She's kind of cool.
And then there were also people who remembered seeing my son as a baby. So that was also kind of mind-blowing for them to see him now at 6 foot tall, kid running around volunteering. But yeah, it's a family affair, even for me. So I love
That's great. And you feel like a star when you're there, Everybody does.
I think, you leave home with a teenager then, and who thinks that you're actually very boring and the dumbest person on earth. And then when other people come up and say, "Oh, I met your mom, she's so fantastic," then that does something with your relationship in the family as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. I just want to finish from my perspective on one thing. One of the things that I knew I could go home and do, because I live near a research hospital, is get involved in the research studies, for Parkinson's. And I've done 15 studies so far in the last 10 years. So the point is, it inspires so many things, in ways that we with Parkinson's can still feel like we're part of the team, we're involved.
Well, that's amazing. Thank you. I mean, people say, like, to people who serve in the military, "Thank you for your service." I say that to people who volunteer in clinical trials, right? Thank you for your service. Because the reality is we're not going to get new treatments and we're not going to find a cure without people participating in clinical research. So thank you. That really matters.
Yeah. We are nearing the end of this very, very, very good talk. It's been a pleasure meeting you both. we have a couple of exit questions that we ask every guest on our show. And the first one is, seeing that you're on a deserted island, your ship has sunk, you're washed up on the shore of a deserted island, there's nothing much there, and you think, if I only had a record player, then I could play which record by which artist would you want? Only one. You can choose between a single or extended play or a full album, but it's only one record. If you had that record player on that deserted beach.
You know how hard this is for me? I'm a
Sree's
singer.
got one. Sree's
I'm a
got one.
singer, so,
Sree, who would you be
I've got
stuck
one.
with?
Like the one I'd really choose is something nobody will understand unless they're from like a specific background in India. But the second option I have is Kind of Blue by Miles Davis. I'll listen to that all day long, all night long.
Oh,
Absolutely.
What was the record you said?
Kind of Blue by Miles Davis.
kind of
Ah.
blue. Well,
Good.
on that note, Nina Simone, birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky. You know, that song I could play all day.
Excellent choices.
Good choices. I love both of those choices.
Mhm.
Now I'm going to go
Yes.
with the music.
Yeah, get it on. And
Get it on.
then we've
The
got other
second-
artists.
The second
Yeah.
challenge, you're in an elevator, stuck between two floors. We haven't said how long a time, but reasonably short, reasonably long. You're stuck there. Who do you want to be stuck with?
Oh, I know exactly who I want to be stuck with. MacGyver. Absolutely.
Oh my
doubt.
God, you're so funny. I was gonna say Michael J. Fox.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good answers, both of them.
Yeah, I think
Amazing.
so.
Well, I just
Why not? MacGyver can get you
Our
out.
new buddy Edgar. How about that?
I just want to say, Edgar, before you close out, I want to say thank you to Sree and Michelle. I mean, I think on many levels, the podcast has been so fun because it's kind of like, I told Edgar the other day, it feels like a little bit like a love letter to the WPC. Everybody who comes on talks about how the WPC has changed them. And for the most part, yes, we're seeing hearts here in really positive ways. But I feel like your story is just so, like, it's so strong because, you know, you really did meet through this Buddies program and you were connected through the Buddies program. And now you're selecting, helping to run the Buddies program. And it is indicative of the WPC. Like we find people who want to be involved and engaged and they raise their hand and then we pull them in close and, you know, keep them in our network, keep them under our umbrella doing great work. And I feel like our Buddies program was in great hands last time and it's in great hands again in Phoenix. And I just hope that people who are on the fence, you know, will listen to this podcast and realize like, okay, I definitely need to just submit my application and be matched. And like you said, it may not be perfect, may not be the best friend for the rest of your life, but it might be. And it might just be someone who will connect you to somebody else. And you guys have done such a great job. So thank you so much for your work and for talking
I
about
just came up with an additional question, totally on overtime here. There are some half crazy people who are going to bike to Phoenix. Are you considering riding a bike from your hometown?
Oh, I'm not friends with those people, Edgar. They're not my friends.
Hell no. No, we'll meet them at the party when they get there. How about that?
Yeah,
I don't choose to be friends with people who do crazy things like that. No,
We'll have a cold beer waiting for them.
And
I mean,
think
the
that
funny thing is we've done crazy things, right, Sree? You
Yeah.
never say never, right?
No.
But my message is directed towards my buddy Jeff Constable. So
Ah, there you go. There
Yes.
you go. How about you, Edgar? Are you going to be biking?
No, I think I will be busy doing a few podcast episodes there, so I could go out and and meet the bikers when they are one day away or something, and then
There you go.
be driven back to Phoenix again. No, I don't think
Okay.
you'll see me on a bike there, unfortunately. No.
Okay. All right.
So the three of us
Okay,
can hang
thanks
out out here.
everyone.
We can hang out.
Thank you,
We'll see
Eli,
you in
for
the
being
lounge.
a good co-host again, and thank you guys for driving the Buddies program and having solved it excellently today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for joining the Here Here Parkinson's podcast. If you would like to experience the next World Parkinson Congress for yourself, to feel and see the change in real time, save the date to join us from May 24th to the 27th, 2026 in Phoenix, Arizona. Learn more at WPC2026.org. This podcast series is made possible with support from Blue Rock Therapeutics.